Hey, this is Tyler Nitro, the future of professional wrestling, and you're listening to Top of the Morning Podcast, presented by TopRopeReport.com.
Greetings and welcome to the Top of the Morning Podcast, presented by TopRopeReport.com. I'm your host, Eric Ames, and welcome to episode 24 of the show this week, as I am joined by my co-host, Mr. Douglas Berrill. We've got another pay-per-view on the schedule for tomorrow night, and it is the Raw exclusive Payback. So on this episode, me and Doug break down all the matches on the card, which is oddly enough looking like it's going to be headlined by a SmackDown superstar. So we talk a little bit about that, kind of our whole feelings towards the whole event. To be honest, neither of us are too excited about it, so hopefully the WWE can pull a rabbit out of their hat and make this an entertaining and exciting show. The build-up hasn't been that great, so we will discuss further. So like I said, this is episode 24 of the Top of the Morning Podcast, presented by TopRopeReport.com, our Payback Preview and Prediction Show with Mr. Doug Berrill. Okay, so here we are, and I am sitting next to Doug Berrill. Doug, who invited you over?
I don't know, man.
What are you doing here?
I have no idea. This is my first time, so I'm a little nervous. So bear with me.
Don't worry, I've had multiple first-timers, so... Oh, I mean, Anyway. Well, it's a good thing you're here, so we can talk about this, thrilling Payback pay-per-view. I couldn't be less excited about a pay-per-view. I don't know about you.
Well, the next pay-per-view after WrestleMania, they are often rehashes anyway, so they're kind of inherently a little bit boring. But this one is just, I don't know, man. This takes the cake.
Yeah, I was trying to remember the last time I felt this, like, I don't know.
Apathetic.
Yeah, about a pay-per-view, and I can't even recall. Like, I feel like there's always been at least something that I could look forward to in it. All of them, at least one thing. I mean, this one, the House of Horrors thing, I guess I'm a little intrigued to see what exactly it is. But other than that, like, I don't know.
I just hope the House of Horrors doesn't become another Ambrose Asylum, because that one definitely missed its mark.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, they tried with, the thumbtack spot and all that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
I don't know, there's been a little bit of rumors about some stuff that we might see. Nothing that I really want to say, because who knows if it's true or not. So I guess we'll find out. But yeah, when I was trying to think of when the next Raw pay-per-view is. When is that? It's
You mean SmackDown?
or no, Raw. Not till June 4th. So
Okay.
So there's going to be like a nice little layoff for Raw following this one. So hopefully they can build some better programs heading into that one. I think the shakeup obviously had an effect on, definitely a big effect on one of these matches. And yeah, overall it seems like a little predictable. There's a couple spots here where they could go against the grain, but I don't really see it happening. So
yeah, you're pumped.
yeah, I'm like super stoked. I'm rock hard about Payback. So yeah, hopefully that doesn't lead to a boring show. We'll do our best. So before we get into that, Doug, you told your pants to screw off today. What's up with that?
Nobody likes pants. Nah. I had to go into work this morning, and you have to wear long pants. And they have a certain dress code there, and it's been warming up here. If you don't live in Maine, then you don't understand that when it hits 60 degrees, it actually starts to feel warm. There's probably plenty of people who think 60 degrees is definitely pants weather. Not me. I left work. I said in a more explicit way, screw pants. I'm going home and changing.
Pants weather.
Yeah.
When you messaged me that, I was like, oh, there's so many different ways I could go with this right now. But I kept it simple, so. All right, we'll start things off with Payback here. Of course, we know in the kickoff we're going to see a couple of things. One is Miz TV segment with Finn Balor, which I don't know. I don't really have anything to say about it. Do you? I mean,
I don't have that much to say about it. I'm just hopefully something comes of it because Miz just swapped brands. Finn is finally back, and neither one of them have a match on the first show after Mania.
Lame.
So you hope that something comes of this segment. I just don't know what.
Yeah, I don't really see what could come of this. I mean, I can't imagine that they're going to be feuding against each other. I don't see why they would. It kind of seems out of left field if that's what they're going to do.
Yeah,
I would have thought that Ambrose and Miz would have got an IC title match on this card. Not that I'm complaining that it's not on here, because it wouldn't make me any more excited about it. But,
right. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens with that. Maybe something with Bray if he's going to be involved with Balor. I mean, who knows? I don't think they've really elaborated on that since it happened. So
yeah, we'll talk about Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton in a little bit, but of course and we'll talk about it last, so I won't get into it too much. But I can't say it's obvious that Bray's going to lose now that it's not for the title. If it was for the title, then it would be super obvious that Bray was going to lose. But so maybe you're right. Maybe it's some kind of transitional piece. But if you're going to do a transitional piece to go to Balor, I would do it after he's done with Orton. I don't know.
yeah, I mean, I don't quite understand it. Maybe it's just some time filler and we're overthinking it. We'll see. The book's still open on that one. But we do have some action on the kickoff show. And it is going to be a tag match that was added this week with Enzo Amore and Big Cass taking on Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. Honestly, this doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah, and it's like, we've definitely seen this before, but there's so many matches on this card where we've definitely seen this before, so that's going to be a trend. Before the Hardy Boys made their big, return at WrestleMania and they won the titles, if it stayed a triple threat match, I think there was a fair amount of people that thought that maybe this is the time that Enzo and Cass actually, win the titles.
That's definitely what I thought.
Yeah, they never won the NXT titles despite being so over.
They kind of seem like they're in a little bit of a limbo right now. I mean, same thing with Gallows and Anderson. They got their rematch for the title so quickly.
Yeah, so, and I don't know, it's so hard to book the tag team division right now, but I thought Enzo and Cass were going to take the titles at Mania. I'm not complaining because the way they did that return, that was awesome. That was a moment that will define WrestleMania 33 very much. So that was great, but I think that after you thought that maybe this is finally Enzo and Cass's time to take gold, they didn't do it. Now they're on the kickoff match on the next show. I don't think they can afford to lose. So I'm going to go with Enzo and Cass.
Yeah, I actually agree with you. I don't think they can afford to lose either. I don't know, like I said, I just feel like both of these teams are stuck in some kind of a limbo because of the addition of the Hardys really seemed to throw what we all thought was going to happen kind of to the side. So until, the Broken gimmick comes back and the Hardys, are out of the tag team division, maybe doing their own thing, I think everyone else is kind of just playing second fiddle to them anyway. I mean, they're clearly the top team that WWE has on Raw right now, so I mean, I think a lot of the future with the tag team division will have to do with when we see the broken gimmick brought up,
Yeah.
which we'll get into
Oh, definitely.
shortly here.
Definitely.
So yeah, I agree on Enzo and Cass on that one. So that means it'll probably be the other way.
Yeah, right.
It'll probably be Gallows and Anderson. So onto the main show. One of the title matches is a rematch from WrestleMania. The Cruiserweight title on the line as the champion Neville defends against Austin and Aries. To me, this feels... there's always that chance that, like, it could go the other way of what I'm thinking, but this seems really predictable to me. Like, I don't understand why you would go back to this when Neville pretty much beat Aries clean. I know there was an eye rake or whatever at WrestleMania, but he still beat him clean, in my book anyway. So I don't understand why you would go back to this if Aries is not going to take the title here.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, first of all, wait, are you telling me that there is a WrestleMania rematch on this card?
No way.
Yeah,
you're joking.
I'm pretty sure this is the only one. So we'll go with that. I mean, these guys are going to obviously give you a good match, and why would you go back to this well if Aries isn't going to take the title? It really puts down one of your bigger stars in the Cruiserweight division, who obviously was on the shelf, and they made a big deal about his comeback. Neville takes the win at WrestleMania. If Aries loses twice in a row, then Aries doesn't seem like the factor that he should be. Aries, in terms of the future, has so much potential to go either way. We've talked about the fact that at the end of the day, he's kind of a better heel than he is a babyface.
That's the only way that I could see, like, it making sense for Neville to retain is if it's gonna, like, somehow affect Aries and then he turns heel, like.
Yeah, and so they're turning TJP, because that's always going to be forever. That's going to be the problem with the Cruiserweight division, because especially when you talk about guys that are luchadors or smaller high flyers, all of those guys are such natural baby faces that it's hard to have enough heels. They're turning TJP. I never thought Neville could be as good of a heel as he actually is, which is great.
Yeah, he's been
brilliant.
This has been the best run of his WWE career outside of NXT.
Aries has the potential to be one down the line, maybe sooner, maybe later. If they go back to this well and Aries loses, then I think you're really diminishing him. So yeah, Aries can't afford to lose.
I think the more interesting piece, I guess, surrounding this match, if Aries does win, which it seems like he's going to, what do you kind of do with Neville after that? I mean, unless I could see him maybe getting a rematch for the title, but if he's not holding the championship, where does that put him?
Right.
Just because it's kind of become like second nature when I think of him. I think of the Cruiserweight title now, even though he's had the longest run, I think, out of anybody that's had that title so far, so I kind of associate him with that. So I always find it interesting to see any kind of champions or long, like when Punk held the WWE title for like over 400 days, I was like, well, it'll at least be interesting to see what they do without that championship. So that's kind of what I would be looking forward to after the fact. If you do turn Aries heel, after a loss, I think that would make sense, but like you said, it would kind of kill his, credibility in a way.
Yeah, it was a long time building to his return, and he was constantly on commentary. They were building him up. Obviously, he has the credentials, and he has the potential to, if he runs as a babyface for longer or a tweener, then that's great. But obviously, he has the potential to be a big heel. But
yeah, they're still pretty strong on the babyface side of things.
Yeah.
Over on 205 Live, even after I kept asking, like, where the hell has Tajiri been? And at least now we know,
right?
He's leaving, which will give up a spot to someone else, even though he never was around. But you got Cedric coming back at some point here anyway. I know he's been out for a couple months now. I don't know. I can't even remember.
Yeah,
some kind of a knee injury, but he'll be back at some point. And he was pretty hot as a babyface for them.
Basically, if Aries isn't going to win, then I would have done a different match here.
Exactly. Yep. Agreed. 100%. So moving on, we've got another title match, and we spoke about these guys a little bit earlier. The Raw Tag Team Champions, the Hardy Boys, defending against Cesaro and Sheamus. Is it just me, or does this just seem like
Filler?
no,
Glorified filler.
I don't know about that. I was gonna say I feel like it's kind of an inevitability that Cesaro and Sheamus are turning heel here. Like, we're seeing all the signs of it.
Oh, okay, that's where you're going with it. I
agree on the other part of it, but I don't know. I could really, really see them winning the titles here. I wouldn't be shocked.
If they turn heel, then it's not filler. But otherwise, because obviously you had the Fatal 4-Way match at WrestleMania, and you got two teams going at it and two teams going at it. And you know what? You're right, because you've got...
The last couple of weeks, it sure seems like they're teasing it to me.
You've got two babyface, essentially...
Especially this week.
Yeah, essentially two babyfaces. So, yeah, they could turn. And,
you need more heels over on that side, over on Raw, in your tag team division, and I've been saying it for, I think, at least since WrestleMania, like, the only one you really can do that with that would be legitimate would be Cesaro and Sheamus.
Do you think that Cesaro can pull it off, though?
I think they can pull it off because the Hardy Boys are so over.
Yeah.
That's what will make it work.
I think that, I'm thinking, like, okay, maybe they can make it work for that one match, that one show, but in terms of, like, going forward, I'm just trying to envision what Cesaro's approach as a heel would be.
I mean, I think he would kind of follow the same lead as Sheamus. They're kind of one and the same personality-wise, at least, anyway.
Sure.
But I think that they could just kind of change their attitude a little bit and pretty much keep what they've been doing. They've kind of updated the look with the kilts and all that kind of stuff. So I think a lot of this, like I said earlier, has to do with how quickly you're going to be bringing the broken gimmick to TV. Like, I kind of want to go out on a limb and say Cesaro and Sheamus are taking the titles here.
Yeah, I'm gonna play it safe, and
because then if they're working with the Hardys for a rematch for the next 5 weeks if they end up waiting until Extreme Rules and don't do it on Raw, then I think that will help solidify Cesaro as a heel, even though people will want to cheer him.
Sure. I'm going to play it safe by sticking with the Hardys, but yeah, that's a really good point. The potential for Cesaro and Sheamus to turn, and if they turn and take the titles, they'll definitely have big heat. I'm just going to play it safe here.
Yeah, I'm not 100% confident in that. Sometimes I got to go against the grain, but I mean, at least it makes sense. My crazy makes sense, Doug.
Right, that's right.
My crazy is logical. I'm logically insane. That's okay.
Right.
Oh, man. All right, next up on the docket, another title match here. We have the newcomer to Raw, kind of newcomer. It's been a couple weeks now. Alexa Bliss challenging the Raw Women's Champion Bayley. Why don't you play kicker and kick off the ball, Doug?
Well, it's definitely one of the most fresh matches on the card. In terms of the superstar shakeup, which we talked about a little while ago, the moves that they made with the women's division were probably the best when it comes to comparing the men's division, the women's division, and the tag division. That made the most sense. You have two former champions that were the big movers in Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair, and the question became, out of those two, who's going to take their new brand's belt first? This match might be the one I'm most torn on, because when Bayley, because in terms of how fast Alexa should win the title versus, how long are they going to keep the belt on Bayley, I thought it was up in the air for her to retain at Mania, and she did. So, maybe she got her legitimizing moment and Alexa takes the title before Charlotte. I don't know.
I definitely think that Charlotte won't be winning this title anytime soon. To me, it looks like they're kind of turning her babyface.
Yeah, they are.
But as it comes to Bayley and Alexa, I thought it was, I guess Charlotte and Alexa, I thought it was too soon for either of them to be challenging for the title. I didn't want to see them thrown into that spot immediately. I thought you could have bought some time with Alexa and Mickey because that was never really resolved. I think you could have extended that a little bit and kind of given Bayley, maybe a little intermittent Nia Jax feud to, kind of finalize that because that never. It was like a 3-on-1 at WrestleMania. Like, I don't know. To me, Nia Jax still has a kind of a gripe, I guess, when it comes to that title. So to me, she clearly should have been the number one contender. But I think that you need to buy time until you're returning Sasha heel. So I don't think Bayley's dropping that belt anytime soon. I guess the only thing is, what do you do with Alexa if she loses here?
I'm gonna say that there's some kind of disqualification finish in this match.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me.
They've been doing a lot on both sides with the women's division, with other people getting involved. I could see somebody else getting involved, and you have a DQ finish here.
I mean, we know that Sasha is going to be turning heel, right? So it wouldn't make sense, like, for her to do that with anyone other than Bayley. But does it mean as much if Bayley doesn't have the title? I think it means a lot more. So I think you're kind of holding off for that, which means Alexa will probably win.
Yeah, right. Well, I'm going to go with a DQ finish so that Bayley keeps the belt. It leaves the door open for Sasha, but you kind of protect Alexa.
Yeah, I guess I'm not picking a winner. I'm just saying that I don't think Alexa takes the title.
Yeah, sure.
Which means she could win by DQ, like you said. That's my little, I gotta throw that in there to save my butt on my pick. Whoa. That's not what I said.
You're right.
Hang on now. We're going to get away from the title matches for the next one here. One of the, I guess, top matches on the card, one of the ones that has had top billing, would be Seth Rollins taking on the Destroyer, Samoa Joe, kind of finishing off some WrestleMania business, I guess. To me, the build to this has felt really lackluster to me. Like, this should have been a lot more than it has been. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I can't think of one notable moment in this feud, aside from when Joe injured Rollins back in February or late January, that has really meant much of anything. It hasn't felt important at all to me.
Yeah, when I was kind of looking at the card before we talked, yeah, this should be such a top priority type of match, but it's kind of like an, oh yeah, that's on the card too kind of match, which is really, disappointing.
This is my pick for Show Stealer, by the way.
Oh, well, that could definitely happen. Yeah, that makes sense. In terms of the winner, I'm thinking about, well, Joe has been working with Triple H. Rollins got his win over Triple H. If Rollins beats Joe here, what Triple H and Samoa Joe have going, I think that really kind of takes them down, maybe 2 pegs. So I'm actually going to go with Samoa Joe here.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm going to go with Joe as well. I'm kind of going out on a limb again here with my prediction, but how long is it going to be before we see Stephanie again? Like,
yeah, right.
I think it would be a nice little surprise to have her reappear here and somehow help Joe get the win.
I mean, look.
The problem with this card throughout is we don't really know where anyone's going yet. Because of the shakeup really did shake things up, you can't really predict what's happening outside of SmackDown. SmackDown, you can kind of see through the fog a little bit on where they're going. But as far as Raw is concerned, you have no idea what long-term plans are for so much stuff is up in the air. It's so hard to tell.
Well, in terms of Stephanie, look, some people get powerbombed through multiple tables and they're back the next night. Look, her bump was really, 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 really hard.
It was so hard that she needed to go to Turks and Caicos for an extended period of time.
I mean, look, it's...
If I had the money to go to Turks and Caicos, I'd go there when I stubbed my toe.
It's, it's emotional recovery, all right? That's what she's taking. No, she could definitely reappear, and that would only protect Rollins, really, when it comes to the finish. If she gets involved and Joe wins and he looks strong in the process, but Rollins kind of got the screws put to him.
I mean, I can't imagine that the issue with Rollins and her is gonna be finished. I just can't see that happening.
Yeah, well, the problem with the Raw card right now, not only do we not know where people are going, but
You just said rock hard.
you know, hear what you want to hear. I don't know. In terms of making these predictions, all right, throw me off the rails.
Simmer down now.
There is so many guys, and we talked about it before. There's so many must-push guys on Raw that it makes matches like this one and another one upcoming that much more challenging to predict.
Yeah, it's so like, I don't know, man. It's like Ice-T's wife. It's just so like top heavy right now. It's really, you can't tell where anyone's going. I don't know. Well, regardless, we're both. You go Joe. I'll go Joe, and
Yeah.
Rollins will say no, huh?
Yep. Sorry, Rollins.
You go Joe, I go Joe. Okay. All right, back to the. Well, we kind of went off the rails on that one.
a little bit.
Yeah, just a tiny bit. I knew we'd make this show entertaining one way or another. So we'll move on to the next match. Then we're back into the title scene here. It is for the United States Championship. The champion Kevin Owens taking on the Gift of Jericho. Challenge for the title, man. Predictable. Totally predictable.
It's hard to say.
The
much
winner
about this.
goes to SmackDown Live. Jericho, we know he's leaving in, like, I don't know, he could stick around for another week or two, and then he's gone for the month of May. So, obviously, he's not moving to SmackDown. Kevin Owens retains.
Yeah, they shouldn't have done that.
They're building him versus AJ already. Like,
yeah, he's already building a feud on SmackDown. Obviously, he's, going to SmackDown. But I said this a while ago. What they should have done was just, say, yeah, Kevin Owens, he's going to SmackDown, but Jericho, in kind of his veteran stroke, he can kind of go where he wants, and he can follow him for the rematch and just have the rematch. Of course, it might not have been on Payback. It might have been Backlash, so there's that problem. But
right, because he's not supposed to be back until, like, mid-June, I believe.
yeah, so I don't know. I just think that when Daniel Bryan comes out and says, "Oh, yeah, the winner goes to SmackDown,"
They shouldn't have never swapped the U.S. and the IC titles.
Yeah, because
Why?
neither one made sense.
It didn't need it at all. Now, you don't even have the IC title on this card. Like, that championship could not feel less important to me right now.
Like, Owens and Ambrose were, like, two of the higher-ranked guys that really, really shouldn't have moved. So, yeah, the whole thing doesn't make a whole lot of sense. You should have just kept KO on Raw. You should have had the rematch without any kind of stipulation. Owens got his WrestleMania win. At least there's the opportunity where Jericho can, win at Payback and then just drop the title the next night or the next week or something.
Yeah, you've got all these guys that, you got Balor back, he doesn't have a match. You took The Miz, and he doesn't have a match. You took the Intercontinental Champion, he doesn't have a match. Why the hell did you take... It didn't make any sense at all. It wasn't.
It was
so
way
not needed.
too
Like,
soon.
we got
Way
3 hours of programming that we need to fill. Like, okay, well, now you got a 4-hour pay-per-view, and none of those guys are on the card. Like, yeah, way too soon.
It was way too soon.
I don't get it at all. I mean, granted, it's done good. Like, SmackDown Live is still can keep thriving. I think this week they didn't have a great episode. Neither did Raw. But it was still better than Raw. So you could give them a can of corn, and they'll get that guy over. It seems like right now.
Yeah, I'm wondering, the difference in writing teams and booking teams. I want to know who's behind each one, because SmackDown
Road Dogg plays a huge role in SmackDown.
Really, because SmackDown, really has definitely, on a more consistent basis, definitely put on better main events, and really more weeks than not every week, but more weeks than not, put on better programming.
Yeah, absolutely. I know Road Dogg, he might not technically be the head writer of SmackDown, but he's pretty high up in the chain. He might be like co-head writer with another guy, and I'm drawing a blank. on who writes for Raw. I don't know. A boardroom full of monkeys, apparently.
Right.
Something you'd see on Family Guy. That was my Peter Griffin thought. Who's writing for Raw? And I had a thought bubble. A boardroom of monkeys just typing away. That sounds good. We'll take Bray Wyatt, too.
Yeah.
All right. I'll stop crapping all over Raw. So obviously we're both going Owens on that one.
Yeah.
Have we really even been very different on this one? I mean, I went out on a limb with Cesaro and
Yeah,
Sheamus,
I went with the Hardys, but no, I think most of them.
We're so goddamn the same.
Well, I kind of thought you were gonna take Rollins when I took Joe. So.
No, I mean I think Joe he hasn't lost a one-on-one match yet, right? I don't think so.
Not that I can remember.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't feel like this is the time for it. Rollins is coming off that big win, so he can afford to drop one. Drop the old L.
Yeah.
All right, couple more matches here to get through. Of course, I guess the co-main event, this is so weird that it seems like a SmackDown match isn't the main event, but anyway, I guess this would be the Raw main event, which would be Roman Reigns taking on Braun Strowman. Definitely had the best build-up of anything on this card, in my opinion. Obviously, because Bray and Orton are not on the same show anymore, so that kind of kills that a little bit. But we had the huge night for Braun Strowman, tipping over the ambulance and really kind of destroying Roman, who we haven't seen on TV since, of course. His brother, formerly known as Rosie in the WWE, passed away, so I guess that could be kind of attributed, or I guess kind of a good time if something like that's going to happen, that he's off TV with an injury storyline.
Right.
I mean, if there ever is a good time, so
right.
I mean, I guess that's a positive. He didn't miss any extra time because of it. But I think not having Roman on TV has kind of hurt it a little bit, especially this week. Braun had a dumpster match against Kalisto that he lost for whatever reason.
Why would you do that?
Boardroom of monkeys. Like I said, why on earth Braun lost that match, I have no idea. It made him look like a big dumb idiot.
Yeah.
So I don't know. This one's tough to call for me because I know the only thing we really can foresee for Raw in the future is Roman challenging Brock for the WWE Championship, or for the Universal Championship. But it's not supposed to be until WrestleMania next year, so I don't think Roman goes over here, because initially this all started when they kind of both were, I guess, talked about by Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman, or Strowman kind of laid claim to a title match, so this almost seems like kind of like a number one contenders match to me, so I think Braun's got to go over here if you're holding off on Roman and Lesnar.
Yeah, my brain is telling me that Braun is going to win.
He should have went over the last time that they faced off.
And I was gonna say, like, that was the other thing. The last time they had one of these big matches,
was that Fastlane?
I believe it was at Fastlane, and he, a lot of people thought he was going to win there, and
he absolutely should have.
Roman wins, lol. Like,
right.
Lol. That's the new. That's the new thing. What do you think? What do you think about the speculation of Braun facing Brock at SummerSlam?
I would be okay with that. I mean, Brock is in this interesting position where he can kind of play both sides of the fence. Like, he doesn't have to be a heel or a babyface. He can swap depending on the opponent, and we've seen him do it. I mean.
Yeah, he's even right now.
Yeah, he even got Undertaker booed at one point in late 2015 when they kind of continued their feud from 2014. But yeah, he can do anything, so you can match him up with anybody. And I mean, am much more interested in seeing that than seeing Roman and Brock again. I'll tell you that much.
Right, but that is inevitable, and so. Yeah, my brain tells me Braun because he should have won at Fastlane. And
I'm a little bent, honestly, that... I mean, this is a little bit off topic, but not really. That Owens got moved, and now he's not going to end up facing Lesnar, because I was really intrigued by that matchup.
Yeah, that could have been really cool. My brain's going to go with Braun because the potential to build up for SummerSlam. I know they don't like Roman to just lose clean too often. But if you're going to have Braun face Brock at SummerSlam, then this would be the win. This is the win that he needs. So my brain is telling me Braun, but for the sake of being different on more than one match, and just for the sake of that and everything else, I'm gonna go.
Don't do it.
Roman wins.
Oh, ew! You picked Roman.
Roman wins. Lol.
Oh, Doug. I think we just got divorced.
Yeah, no, I don't want him to win.
No,
I don't want him to win, but
I mean, if Roman wins here, I don't know. I'll crap myself. Be like, how can you put him over Braun like this twice in a row?
I don't think it makes sense for Roman to win,
Yeah,
but that's just
really,
the new thing. Like, Roman wins.
Yeah, it's like the little kid playing cards in Big Daddy. Like,
yeah, right.
I win. Roman wins. This bullshit. He always wins. You give him the easy ones. Yeah, I don't really know how they're going to keep Roman occupied until, next year, until Brock. It's kind of weird that they would, be thinking about that so far ahead of time. I guess you don't really know what's going to happen, but I would kind of be focusing on what we're going to do next with this guy rather than...
Yeah, where does he go after
Braun? Like, how do we get there? Like, all right, this is how... They're coming up with the destination before figuring out the path, I guess. You know what I mean? That doesn't... I don't know. I would kind of want to work the other way.
Especially if Braun is going to face Brock at SummerSlam. Where the heck does Roman Reigns go?
Exactly. I mean, there's so many guys that he's already feuded with on Raw that I don't want to see again. I don't want to see it again. I guess something with him and Joe. You could have a Samoa Joe battle.
Yeah,
the battle of the Samoan Joes.
Yeah, right.
But outside of an Ambrose heel turn, I don't see anything interesting for him. We've already seen him face Bray. I don't want to see that again.
And I do want an Ambrose heel turn, so that could be interesting. And other heels that Miz moved over, but I don't know. I love the Miz, but I don't
want to see him get fed to Roman.
Right, I'm not interested in seeing Roman Miz. I don't know that.
It would definitely make for some very great Miz promos if he could do some stuff like he was doing with Cena and Aries. Kind
of like Braun, but to a whole new level, because especially with the hardcore fans that were at WrestleMania and the Raw after Mania, Miz, he couldn't even keep his smile down. He was chuckling because he was getting such a babyface pop for tearing down Cena. So if he tears down Roman, the crowd's gonna go ballistic for him. So.
Oh, it would be great TV though.
Yeah,
it really would. All right, we're gonna finish things off here with what I'm assuming is the main event, which is, like I said earlier, a little odd because it's SmackDown star really on your Raw pay-per-view that's top heavy already. It is no longer for the WWE Championship, but it is a House of Horrors match. The WWE Champion Randy Orton taking on Bray Wyatt.
So the best thing they did, as we talked about earlier, was to not make this a title match, because if it's a title match, obviously they're not going to have both main titles on Raw. Bray moving to Raw was kind of a last-minute deal from the sounds of it, and so they're not going to bring the WWE Championship to Monday. So if it was for the title, if it was a rematch for the title, it is the most obvious match on the card, even more obvious than Owens and Jericho. Now that it's not for the title, now you have the opportunity for Bray Wyatt to win, and Randy Orton is protected because his name is Randy Orton. He can turn around the next week and just, he's Randy Orton and he's the champ, and he's not going to be hurt by a loss. Bray Wyatt would be severely helped if he won. So now he has the opportunity to win, and like I said earlier, I hope this doesn't turn into another Ambrose Asylum, because that Ambrose Asylum match, the thumbtack spot was memorable, that's for sure, but the rest of the match was very lethargic, and it was between two guys I really like, and it had so much opportunity for entertainment, but it just felt so slow and sluggish and awkward. So it kind of missed its mark. I hope that that isn't the case here. But if the House of Horrors match is going to become Bray Wyatt's thing in the future, let's say it doesn't fall flat, let's say they actually pull something off, and they want to make a House of Horrors match be part of Bray Wyatt's gimmick for big matches, then it would make sense for him to win the first one. So while my brain is telling me Orton because he's the champ and because he's Randy Orton and because Bray Wyatt seems to lose in all of his biggest matches, I'm going to go out on a limb and say Bray Wyatt.
Yeah, I don't think that's that far of a limb, to be honest with you. The problem with this is Bray moving to Raw. This is the biggest problem with this match. Because initially when it was for the title, it was like, alright, obviously Bray's not taking the title to Raw, so Orton's going to win. Now they removed it from being a title match. To me, that makes it painfully obvious that Bray's going to win. Because if he wasn't going to win, well, you could have just kept it as a title match, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't have made a difference at all. Which I'm fine with Bray picking up the win, but I don't like the predictability of it. So I'm going to go with Bray. I kind of am hoping... I came up with this whole kind of way to book this match in my mind earlier that I would like to see. I'm not so sure they'll do it, but what I'm kind of envisioning, the best way to go about this, it's Bray's match. He's been talking about how this is going to be a living nightmare for Orton. So I think you make it that, regardless of all the gimmicks or whatever else they actually add, which I'm interested in to actually see what the whole premise of this match is going to be. But I think you need Bray to kind of dominate here, and you can always have Orton kind of come back with a late flurry to come close to picking up the win. But then you got to imagine that Jinder Mahal is getting involved somewhere here.
That's a good
he
point.
He stole the WWE title
yeah.
from Orton on SmackDown. So, to me, the best way to go about this is to have Mahal interfere after Bray dominates the whole match, costs Orton the match, Bray gets his win, but still looks dominant in the process. And you can kind of build him up a little bit more to keep growing him into something else. Like, I was thinking that a good next opponent for him would be Brock Lesnar, because Heyman could really drive home the fact and kind of play this role of, like, he's actually legitimately afraid of Bray, like, not this guy, Brock, this is the one guy we don't want to mess with kind of deal, and continue to kind of build Bray from what really felt like a step down after he lost the title and then got moved to Raw. So it's like, I don't know, if you're going to keep him going, I think that's the best way to go about it. Plus, you're promoting for Backlash, who obviously the next challenger is Jinder Mahal, and you're still kind of protecting Orton for that match in the process because he loses via some kind of interference.
Yeah, and could you imagine the back and forths that Bray Wyatt and Paul Heyman would have?
I think it would be phenomenal.
That would be must-see TV. So,
because in that scenario, obviously, Brock would end up winning, but I think it would do a lot for Bray's character to have Heyman, with his mouth kind of building him up as, like, to really be afraid of this guy.
Yep. No, I think that's an everybody wins scenario. I was thinking about Bray Wyatt without even thinking about those X factors, just because, God, he needs it. If Bray Wyatt loses this match, it's kind of like when we were talking about Austin Aries. Like, but Bray Wyatt's an established guy. The fans, especially the hardcore fans, they really like him. They want more out of him. Austin Aries, he's an established talent. It's not like he's going to lose that aspect, but why have this match if you're just going to have the same guy go down again? And Bray needs like a marquee win so desperately.
Not only that, but this is a Raw pay-per-view, and logically speaking, do you want the show to end with the SmackDown champion, standing tall? I mean, I don't know. I think the scenario I came up with is a win for everybody, and that's what they should do. So that probably won't happen, like we've said.
So I played it safe with the Hardys, and then I went Roman wins lol, even though my brain tells me Braun. But I guess those are going to be the only two we differ on because I got to go with Bray here.
Is there any chance, because the main event of Raw this week made absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. I couldn't make any kind of logical, or come up with any logical reasoning as to why Bray would team up with The Miz.
Right.
And then he viciously attacks everybody. Ambrose isn't on the card. Do you envision Ambrose interfering and possibly costing Bray the match here? Or at least interfering? I'll tell you, I would be so mad if that happened.
I was going to say, I hope not.
Do we
I
really want to see Bray and Dean again? I certainly don't.
No, they've done it, and you're right. You know, it's a glaring omission that, you know, Ambrose is not here. And so it's definitely possible, but God, I hope not.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't want to see that happen. I mean, I've been disinterested in Ambrose for quite a while now, so... By the way, is he the Intercontinental Champion? I forget.
Yeah,
I can't even remember.
I don't know. I think the British Bulldog has the belt right now. I don't know.
Well, they better dig it up, because I think his 30 days are way overdue.
Yeah, right.
All right, so that's going to wrap it up for our Payback show here. I know Doug's got some information. He's going to be kind of taking the reins of the program for the next couple of weeks, so why don't you let everybody know what's coming up here over the next 2 weeks?
Well, at the time of this recording, it was last night that I had a follow-up chat with Ray Lloyd, who is best known for wrestling fans as Glacier. He is a great guy to talk wrestling with. If he's ever making an appearance, you know, like an indie appearance or something like that, I can't put him over enough to just say hi, even though I haven't personally got to meet him in person. We've only spoken on the phone, you know, exchanged text messages and things like that. But
sliding into each other's DMs.
Yeah, we doing a little bit of the DMs there, and no, he's a really knowledgeable guy, you know, from all the way back into the territory days. And he's still involved in wrestling today. He just did a bunch of seminars and appearances over WrestleMania weekend. We talked about that. We talked about WrestleMania in general. We talked about a lot of things.
I was actually going to ask you that, if you got to talk about DDP's Hall of Fame induction and all that stuff.
We definitely did. He's a very close friend of Diamond Dallas Page. We talked about his induction. We talked about so much good stuff. But kind of like the first time, you know, we talked, I ended the interview and I was like, man, there's so many other questions I could have asked. There's so many other things that we could have talked about. So, hey, you never know. He might be coming back on again, but it was a great talk the first time. I can promise you it's a great talk the second time. He's a great guy to listen to, just talk about the business and from the past and the present. So that'll be next week. And then the week after that, I haven't talked to him yet, but Limitless...
Full slate, Dougie.
I know, the Limitless...
I know!
Limitless Wrestling is back once again in our neck of the woods, and the king of the indies, if you will. Not only the king of the indies, but in terms of wrestling podcasts, he was really a trailblazer for wrestling podcasts. Colt Cabana is coming to town, and there is a regional favorite around here. His name is Top Shelf Troy Nelson, and he is tasked with facing Colt Cabana at Limitless's next, well, not their next show, their show in May, on May 13th. So he said he's met Colt before, but he said that this is his dream match. So he's going to be taking on Colt Cabana in the main event of that show. He's a very entertaining guy. I've listened to him do commentary. I've listened to him on the microphone. He's definitely going to be an entertaining interview. So that'll be the week after. So, yeah, we got the part 2 with Ray Lloyd, Glacier, next week. And then Top Shelf Troy Nelson in the preview of his encounter with Colt Cabana will be the week after that.
Yeah, so we got Glacier Part 2,
Yeah.
then Top Shelf Troy Nelson, and then the week after that, I believe, it'll probably be Backlash.
Yep.
So, well, good stuff. We'll definitely be looking forward to that. I know I'm looking forward to it. And until next time, my friend, I would bid you adieu. Okay, everybody, that was our show for this week, the Payback Preview and Prediction episode. Myself being joined by the co-host of the program, Mr. Doug Berrill. Of course, as we said, Doug will be taking the reins over the next couple of weeks, as next week he will be revisited by former WCW star Glacier to talk about WrestleMania weekend. Glacier was in attendance with his good friend Diamond Dallas Page, who was inducted into the Hall of Fame. So going to be lots of good, interesting stories and information on that, so definitely check that out. In 2 weeks, we will have Top Shelf Troy Nelson, who will be at Limitless Wrestling on May the 13th against Colt Cabana. Of course, Doug will be doing that interview as well. And then in 3 weeks, we will be doing another pay-per-view preview and prediction show as SmackDown brings us Backlash. So you can check all of that out by subscribing to the Top of the Morning podcast on iTunes. We are also on SoundCloud, YouTube, and Podcruncher. Of course, I would like to encourage everybody to keep reading TopRopeReport.com for all the latest and greatest news from the most reliable sources on the web in the world of professional wrestling. Of course, live detailed results for all the shows, including Payback tomorrow night. But we also have Raw, SmackDown Live, NXT, and 205 Live every week. So hashtag get on top with TRR for all your news and essentially everything in the world of pro wrestling. Doug will also have a column that is out, came out yesterday, so be sure to check that out. I've got one coming up on Monday. Not sure what I'm going to write about yet, but I'll come up with something good for you. So yeah, be sure to hashtag get on top for all of that. If you'd like to follow TRR on Twitter, we are on there at TRR Wrestling. We are also on Facebook at TopRopeReport.com with no dot, and on Instagram at TopRopeReport.com with no dot. Yours truly, I am on Twitter at TRR_EAmes. And if you'd like to follow Doug and talk WWE with him, he's on Twitter at TRR_Doug. So until next time, my friends, we always leave you with some positivity. Just don't forget, it's not how hard you get knocked down, but whether or not you can kick out.
But you don't know